G'day crew, my name is Luke from Aquatic Rehab Spearfishing, and this little vlog's a spearfishing vlog on dirty water diving in Auckland. Quite often it's a reoccurring theme in spearfishing. How are you going to tell what the viz is doing? Where's the good viz? Has anyone got viz reports? For me personally, as long as the viz isn't closing in the deeper you get, or it's not absolutely shit, like the first dive I'll show here, there's no reason why you can't have a good dive. The more that you learn your local hunting spots, you can take advantage of low viz, because quite often, you know, if you're targeting kingfish and schoolfish and that, they'll be closer to you in poor viz. Because they want to sort of see what you're up to, they're curious. If you've got wicked viz and they're not on, there's not much current and stuff like that, they might just hang out far away from you. In dirty water, if you find where the fish are, it can really be firing and can be quite good. And also for hunting snapper too, you can get a bit more concealment. So that's just something to think about rather than chasing viz all the time. If you're a hunter, over just going out there for scenery, then I'd highly recommend putting the effort into learning to hunt in dirty water. Now when I say dirty, 5 to 10 meters green, but this first dive here is probably less than 5. So yeah, this first dive here is an early November meat run, and it was just utter filth. Went out with my mate Ollie. Yeah, we got in on a first spot, and we're just doing quite a few consecutive drops onto a rock that we know that's there, and this rock's at about 8 meters, and even sort of halfway down to it you can't even really make it out. We're basically down there just hoping that a kingfish is going to sort of come there within range, and I kept dropping down next to him, and he ends up shooting a kingfish right next to me. Well, he's next to me and he shoots a fish out on the other side, and I never even see it. Just hear the gun go off and see him going towards the surface, and I'm basically like, what's on the end of his line there? Yeah, get to the surface, and then he asked me for a second shot.
I've got it. Do you want a second shot? Yeah. Nervous with visibility.
Now on this dive being a meat run, like normally early November I'll go out and kill a kingy or two just to start that restock after winter. Pretty lazy on the diving through winter, switch between like wild game and then fish. Late October, early November is kind of my excuse to get some of the bloodlust out of the way. Basically went off to one of our other spots, and yeah, pretty gloomy water. Nice big school of kingfish as I'm dropping down on top of them. And I think the bottom there is around sort of 20 odd meters, and they're kind of up in the mid water there. So yeah, get a shaft into a fish, and I definitely heard it. One down. A little bit further back than I'd like, but still really heard it, so that's all good. Boated that one. I'm pretty sure we actually had Ollie's son on the boat that day too, and yeah, he's right into it, so that's cool. Get back in the water, and my plan was to go for second fish, back down to the school, find something that I thought was reasonable. And yes, find this one here, bang, on the boat, and we're off back to the boat ramp. Yeah, got it done, so a couple of fish to take home. So this dive's another spring mission with Ollie, better viz this time. Back out to one of our many pins that we've discovered over the years, and sort of we're working them depending on what the time of day is or the current and stuff like that. Dropped down into a really nice school of kingfish, and you can see that they're quite curious. They're keen on sort of, you know, checking me out, and I'm just there watching them. And yeah, I wish I was looking a little bit further left, because this big snap, nice big snapper, rolls out of the gloom and then just takes off again. I was like, shit, that would have been good if I could sort of quick fire on that guy, but I just simply wasn't watching that spot. So I only really caught the tail end of it, but knew it was a big snap. Sat there waiting to see if another one or that snap might show itself again. Highly unlikely. And yeah, just settled for a kingy. Once I'd landed that, we actually moved off to another spot, and where I'd shot it, the wing was quite torn and screwed up from where the shaft had gone in. As I was ripping all the guts out, I ended up ripping that wing off, and then I just cut it in half and actually took it down on a drop with me onto this ledge. And yeah, had the piece of kingfish wing on the end of my spear, and then come down over the ledge and just pop it off, just to see if there's any fish down there that are going to come in for a look at it. And instantly there's two snapper. They must have been hanging out just on that kelp there. Maybe they saw the flashing from the that bright white kingy meat coming down, or I don't know, but they're pretty keen. Yeah, got a shaft in one of them and landed it, so pretty good day, pretty healthy bin. So this third dive here, this was a real nice calm day that was expected to get really windy. This was just early summer, I think, so my bloodlust wasn't really that high for a kingy. You know, if a real mean one comes through, I'll shoot it, but otherwise just let them do their thing. Fins on. Very first drop onto this spot here, epic kingfish school, and just sit there with them, filming them, and yeah, not so clean water again, but you can see how close the fish are, and just seeing how long I can get them to hang around me for. After that, dodging lures from a sign-written charter boat who wasn't anchored, and
oh yeah.
And then yeah, back down into another big epic school of kingies. Then after that, move back up to the pressure point and have another dive and another massive school of kingfish. Just in there watching them, absolutely no intention of taking one. I noticed a real good sized trevally, and this is quite rare for these spots. I haven't shot many big trevs out there. Yeah, cruises right through the kingfish school, and didn't hesitate. Thought, fuck it, I'm going to take that because they're pretty tasty. I think we moved spots again and then dropped back down on a different reef, and yeah, another nice school of kingfish and one really nice model cruising through here. Then filming another school, I actually seen a real big fish come through. You can see this big sort of swooping of the tail, and it has like a big white mark on the side of its head there. I don't know if it's a hook or what's going on there, but nice fish. And I was going to actually have a crack at that one if it come close enough, but no, it wasn't hanging around. Just amongst seething kingies, something, you know, twice the size. So, you know, big kingies in schools like that can be quite elusive and quite difficult to shoot. So I didn't get a chance, but cool to see it. Yeah, come back to the boat. Ollie's taken a nice fish, probably over 20 kg, and the wind's really picked up, gone really nasty. And Ollie sort of let me know that the pull start, like the spring on the outboard's cooked out on the death machine. We've been diving off this thing for a decade and killed a lot of fish on it. And he's actually sorted it out now. He's given it a bit of a recoat of paint and looking a lot nicer. But yeah, that day she didn't want us to be on her. Yeah, our board wouldn't go with all that weight on the back too. Got a bit of water up in there, and I had to get Coast Guard out. And yeah, Ollie donated them a big chunk of his big kingy, so they're actually pretty stoked on that. Yeah, a bit of a screw up, but oh well. So yeah, just after Christmas we actually headed back out, and it was a little bit more quiet on the kingfish front. Quite often that can happen when it heats up a bit. It's sort of like early season, it's just pumping with big schools, and then as it gets really hot, it's kind of on and off and not as predictable. This is one reef that quite often the opposite side produces nice schools of kingfish. This day the current was coming from a different direction and it was quite subtle. As Ollie's going up, I ended up doing my dive, and instead of lying down on the reef, I just dived down off the front of it and went down towards the sand there. And yeah, sort of waiting down there, and then just had the vibe to sort of like look up above me, and there's a nice school of kingfish like quite high above me there, halfway between me and Ollie. So I basically should have just done what I usually do and sit on top of the reef, but yeah, a couple of grunts and instantly you can see the change here. All the fish just come straight down to greet me and smash one. After that, ended up moving out to another spot and diving along, down over a lip and then along a little reef ledge where quite often I see quite a few snapper. Just managed to peg a fish as it's about to run out of this little sort of hiding spot here in the kelp, and good eating fish. And then yeah, after that did one more drop, and it's quite interesting here. You'll see that this little pack of kingfish, I think 4 or so kingies, quite good sized fish, they end up following me the whole way down, and it just goes to show when you're ignoring them how curious they actually are. I'm sort of doing this drop here, and you know, sort of every time I look up, there they are, that skull, there it is again and again. And yeah, just at the last minute, little bronzy rolls in towards me and gets a spook. So after that, I think we called it. Now this final dive is basically just some snapper madness. This is a bit of a random dive in the vault. It must have been just before spawn, and I think Ollie was fishing off the back of the reef. Quite often what he does, like if he gets an air blockage, he's got one ear that quite often goes, he'll just rod fish for a little while and then he'll get back in and start spearing again until it sort of corrects itself. I remember seeing heaps of juvie snaps just like lurking around down there where he was, he had his line. Quite often they're all sort of around that area anyway, and I thought I was just going to go, I might as well go and have a look, because I think he kept getting bait stolen and stuff. So I creeped down this ledge, down over these kelp flats, and yeah, look, just walls and walls of snapper, heaps of juvies, but some quite nice models in there too. You know, I'm using black, so quite often there's quite a few stingrays in that hanging around, so if you really hide down inside that kelp and not much of you is showing, you can get away with quite a bit. In saying that, it's still really difficult to get this kind of footage and have fish, you know, get close enough to snapper like this. You know, a lot of people comment on my Instagram and that and be like, oh, all we have to do is come to New Zealand and we can do this. I mean, that's how many dives of footage have I deleted where I've tried to do it because you don't see anything or the fish are all just leaving. Just heaps. This one's a bit of a tin ass one. Camera's obviously up high on my head, so it's over the kelp, getting a nice view at everything. And yeah, I come through and nice fish here on my left. As I said, you know, I really like using black or dark wetsuits. I think it's easier to blend into the shadows and you kind of look more like a ray or something more natural there. So yeah, I'm basically going to just play this little clip out. And if you guys like this content, like and sub for more.